Good morning. Hi, Macabre. It must be Sunday. How are you? Can you hear me fine? Good morning, Mischief Maker, or good afternoon by you. How are you doing? I had some weird stuff go on in my this morning right before stream. Hi, Sup. How are you? Hi, James. Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully everyone can hear me without a problem. I had some weird shit happen. Hello, Don. Hello, Blood and Popcorn. Perfect. Hi, Sebastian. I kind of figured it was you, puppy. How are you? Dylan, good afternoon. Hello, Brains. Hello, Deadwalk. How are you? Good morning. I had some weird shit happen to my stream this morning. I don't know what happened. It's 5 minutes before I go live. 5 minutes before I go live. And all of my stuff is saying that my Go XLR, which is my mixer and amp to my XLR microphone, has disconnected. Everything is disconnected. It kept coming up as errors, and I'm freaking out because 5 minutes before I hit the live button, I'm like, what the fuck? I appreciate the sound check over there on YouTube. Thank you guys, and thank you over on Twitch, because I don't know what shenanigans or what my gremlins are doing today, but I tell you, they're out in force. They are out in force. Fuckery and shenanigans. It wouldn't be a ReAnimateHer stream if there wasn't shenanigans and fuckery afoot. I swear. I was missing your lives. Oh, well, no worries. You can always catch my VODs. And you know, I'm always live on Sundays. Definitely always live on Sundays. And then I have my gaming channel, which I'm live over there in the evenings during the week. But I play a lot of horror games like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This Wednesday on my gaming channel, we're gonna play 2 games. One is called Poop Killer. I know. It's got a series of them. It's like 8 of them. And we're also going to try to play this indie horror title. It's based on Evil Dead, and it's called Evil is Back. Both indie horror titles, probably about an hour and a half or so each, depending. But I hope everyone's having a great weekend. You're just having a strange week. I'm having just a damn rights, Mischief Maker. It's that time. How is everybody's Sunday going? The marvels of, modern technology. They don't like me. Never do. Never did. Never did. But I hope everyone's having a good Sunday. I'm excited for this Coffee Chat of Horrors. I'm always excited for every CCOH because I get to chat horror for an hour and a half. But this one I'm really excited about because we're going to be discussing not only The Fly from 1986, but we're going to be discussing The Fly, the original Fly from 1958. We have some information for you, and I only figured it's just fair if I speak about both because I can't speak about the remake without speaking about the original where it all started. So, yeah. You're worn out after yesterday's trip, but it was a good trip, right? You had a great time? That's awesome. And I'm using my coffee warmer today as well, so I'm pretty excited. It came in, and this is my first time using it. It gets quite hot. I can hold my hand over the burner, and you can feel the heat, so I was pretty surprised. Really good? Oh, that's good. Good. I'm glad you had a great time on your road trip. We had a fun time teaching Lament how to play Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We had a training day yesterday in the video game. So we were teaching Pixie how to play victim and family member in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We played every map. We gave her a couple practice runs. We gave her several practice runs to kind of get used to the controls and the map. And then we had a couple of real round gameplay where it was more intense. And then I actually played victim, which I don't do. But I played victim in open servers, I think, for 2 rounds. Ooh, my heartbeat got up to like 135. Hi, Shellies. How are you? As far as I know, during the 80 years, there was a peak of slasher films. There was, Sebastian. There was a huge, and over in Italy, where Giallo basically started, they were having their own massive influx of horror over there. Not to mention how it slowly trickled over to North America. Zach, good morning. I hope you're having a good morning. Oh, yeah, it's black nail polish. I painted my nails yesterday. Still trying to get heavy to paint my toenails. As I hate painting my toenails. But yes, thank you very much. But yeah, the 80s spawned so many slashers and so many slasher copycats. You know what I mean? Like, you had the 60s that basically started it all, right? You have the Peeping Tom that doesn't get the love that it should. Sorry, that was Mr. Chico. He yelped. I had to check on him. Okay, he's okay. I don't know if you guys heard that. But you know, the 60s is where the slasher genre really comes into its own, and then the 80s it really morphs into something more than just what we've seen in the 60s. And Peeping Tom doesn't get the love that it should get because Psycho gets the love for starting the slasher genre when really it started well before then. But we got Psycho, and then after Psycho, we have the Town That Dreaded Sundown, because that came out before Halloween. That came out a full year before Halloween, and it's based on the true events of the murders that happened in Texarkana, right? So that spawned some more, and then of course Halloween does spawn the actual slasher franchise, and then Friday the 13th solidifies it and metamorphoses it into something more than just a creepy boogeyman. And then the 80s just spawned a shit ton of slashers. You have Madman, you have so many things, so many slashers. So it's kind of crazy. I just noticed Heavy Metal's name is spelt in your bio. Yeah, well, yeah, Heavy Metal. Oh, is it spelled Heavy Metals? Maybe I spelled it wrong. I don't know. But if I did, I'll fix it. Thank you very much. Peeping Tom is so good. Peeping Tom is a great movie. Do you think today there is a lack of originality? I don't think there's a lack of originality. I think it's a fear of not making money. I think it's greed. I think it's greed more than a lack of originality. Big production companies don't want to take chances on movies that may flop. They don't want to invest and throw money into things where they're unsure if it's going to make anything out of it, right? I don't think we're out of originality. I don't, because there's tons of new horror coming out, indie horror, just tons and tons of it coming out. And I think it's more of, I'm afraid to invest millions of dollars in a film that's not going to produce millions of dollars back. I don't think it has anything to do with originality. I'll be honest, if I didn't know better, I would have fought people that Peeping Tom was a Hitchcock film. I Have Torso as the first official slasher film by Sergio Martino established the template. Yes, and that was an Italian. But yeah, plenty of attempts at that genre before Black Christmas. And Black Christmas was 72, right? And that was a point of view slasher, just like with Psycho. A lot of people tend to forget the other ones, right? And going back, if you go into other cultures' horror films, the slasher genre began earlier in their culture than it did in North America. When we talk about a lot of North American films, a lot of people will bring in just the godfathers of horror, which is like Vincent Price, and you have Hammer horror. But people tend to forget that horror really originated outside of these areas and technically originated in France and Japan, going back to as early as 1886, where Japan coming out with one of the first horror movies of all time, and then France hitting that up next. But yeah, yeah. Do you like movies from A24? I don't mind movies from A24. But yeah, plenty of attempts at the genre before. Oh, definitely before Black Christmas. You have, and I completely forgot about Black Christmas. Hello, Speedy. How are you? This is why we all need to grab streaming by the balls and go for it. I want to make a film for YouTube, but what got a platform now? We can do it ourselves. Oh, you can do it yourselves. The problem is it comes down to money, right? Every filmmaker, everything comes down to the money. And, you could do bare minimum of a production cost. We know that Halloween and Friday the 13th were made on shoestring budgets, $300,000, right? As a screenwriter, every meeting I take, the development people will tell you they want a film similar to something else. Yes, exactly, because they want the money. They don't want to take chances on a film that won't bring in the money. Peltz was Dario Argento's movie I watched as a kid. Imagine how terrifying it was for a 10-year-old. Yeah, I watched a lot of horror movies as a young kid, Sebastian. I definitely understand. The hentai, I think a lot of entertainment is oversaturated. Companies do the safe route and make a series for a streaming platform versus doing a big budget film and it flopping at the box office. It comes a lot down to money. It's less of a loss of series of the flops. That's just my take on entertainment. Everything does boil down to money. It's all about the money. Hello, Dahi. Good morning. For sure, money-driven risk aversion. 100%. 100%. I can't tell you how many times I heard we're looking for the next Final Destination. I almost can guarantee blood. I understand that. I have a lot of friends in the filmmaking industry. My buddy, Fantastico, he does a lot of trauma. He has his own show on Trauma Now, which I love. Fantastic. I love his stuff, which I'm pretty sure you know him as well because the Disaster Piece Theater. Vincent DeSanti, James Sweet, Todd. I know a lot of filmmakers, producers, and directors that's exactly what they hear. They want the next big thing, and it's either the next Final Destination or the next Jason or the next Halloween. And that's why we got Halloween 2 is because the producer didn't want the anthology that Carpenter wanted. So here we are with Halloween 2 because Halloween 1 was such a huge hit with Michael Myers. They were afraid to go and step away from Myers. So we have a second Halloween, hence why Halloween 3 is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch with no Michael Myers. It's how Carpenter intended it to be, which each Halloween chapter being a different anthology film. However, right? Money talks. About myself, I'm a cinephile who dreams of investing his own films. Go for it, Sebastian. Your dreams are only held back by you, right? I always wanted to discuss horror and have a coffee show, drink coffee and talk horror. I made it happen. No, I don't make money off of this show. No, I'm not famous and I don't care. And I don't do that. I don't do this show for that. I do it because I have a passion to talk about horror and I love meeting people and discussing it. There is so much to learn about the franchise itself and just the genre of horror as a whole. And it's just fun to fucking talk about and to be able to brew ideas and bring all of that to life. You know what I mean? Do it. If you want to do it, do it. There's nothing stopping you really, except for you, right? There are ways to get around it. There are ways to do short films with very little budget. I know a family, literally a family. Speedy Misha, thank you. I love your guts. There is a family that did a Halloween fan film made with an iPhone. That's it. And Halloween costumes. An iPhone. No real money involved. They reutilized Halloween costumes and props that they had from Halloween. And it was a really cool film, all filmed on an iPhone. It's all about IP now in a very risk-averse business. It is, blood. It is. It really is. If you don't, they want to make money. I can't wait till my merch comes in. Oh, yeah, Dylan. What did you order? Did you see all the new merch in my store? We have a new one coming next weekend. It's dropping. All I'm going to tell you is that it's fishnets and it's a slasher. You might have seen this Argento film, Sleepless. I remember getting scared while reading the movie's plot as a child. Nice. Nightmind was talking about this. Things like Blender and GIMP are free. Every cell phone has a camera, just need time to put into it. Exactly. And you can get yourself really decent lapel mics. Like I have my own lapel mic. It's wireless. It goes right into my cell phone. I am literally able to create all of my own shit right from my cell phone. I can create, a one-person short horror film, which I've already started to work on. That is as top secret as it gets. But all you need is an imagination, the fucking passion, and a cell phone. That's really about it. Some things aren't all about money. A lot of passion projects you do for the love of it. Oh no, 100%. But I'm talking about big Hollywood productions. It's all about the money. It's not about their passion. Hence why we have so many films and so many remakes and nothing coming out and backing up the originality. There's a lot of indie horror films that go out. There's a lot of horror that has come out of the woodwork in the last couple of years, and they're all passion projects. 13 Fanboy, Friday the 13th Vengeance, Friday the 13th Vengeance Part 2, James Sweet, his movie on Friday the 13th. There's a lot of passion projects. And so Vincent DeSanti is a friend of mine, and he is the director, writer, and a producer and an actor. He did Never Hike Alone series. And he's also worked in numerous other films, 13 Fanboy. And when he was creating Never Hike Alone in the Snow, all of his films, he literally, slept and ate his film. Like he bunked in with a friend of his so he can save money on rent, minimal food. He did a lot of sacrificing because he had a lot of love and passion for his films that he was making. And yeah, he did. He sacrificed a fuck ton. And I know a lot of indie producers that do that, exactly that. I know so many in this industry. Hello, Moon. How are you? Hi, James. My favorite coffee. I love Americanos. Most people who start making movies begin with a B series. Think of Peter Jackson. Oh yeah, they start out small, and then that's Peter Jackson's films are fucking iconic and classic. Bad Taste, Dead Alive. I mean, come on, those are awesome films. Low budget, low budget, and we even did a CCOH on those films. Which version of the thing do you prefer? I prefer the original. The remake isn't bad, but you know what? There's a couple of remakes of the thing. There is the original thing that came out before John Carpenter's thing, but that is another CCOH. At the end of the day, a lot of my passions help my mental health, and I enjoy the community. There you go, hentai. But I do live by the saying, it's not about the tools you have, it's about how you use them and the knowledge you have at your disposal. It is. Do you know how many actors and directors that I know that are in the industry, whether they're in big production industries or in the indie side of things, that did not go to film school? They learned everything on their own. They learned everything with, getting advice from other people and just fucking doing it. We're being rated by Touch of Snow. What tends to happen is independent, self-financed horror makes a big splash. Then the legacy studios try to replicate it, thus limiting risk because it's now proven success. Yes, and they have. Look at Smile. Smile is a prime example of that. Smile was an indie film before Paramount went in and purchased it. It started small. It started at a film festival. And now look at it. Now it's getting a second production. So, Smile too. I thought remake was kind of meh. Yeah, the thing. Yeah, I still really love the original thing. Yeah, the original thing is great. Welcome, Touch of Snow. Welcome, guys. Welcome so very much. Thank you so much for the raid. Miss Bananas, welcome in. Hello, Ikiro King. Hi, how are you guys? I mean, I do music. I recorded my first band's demo with a rock band mic just to have pre-production for the studio. That's awesome, hentai. That's amazing. Good for you. Hi, Space Cadet. Good morning. Good morning. And I do agree, Blood. They do see those independent films make a big splash, and they want a piece of that, so they copy that. They do. But like Sebastian's original question, do you think there is no longer any originality? No, I don't. I think there's a ton of originality out there, and I think there's a ton of films that we don't actually see because they're indie. Like I said, I think it comes down for big production companies, comes down to money, whereas for everybody else, it's not. The video game Rock Band. Yeah, I knew what you were talking about, the video game Rock Band. Not made for music recording at all, but it was used to get an idea across, not for a commercial release. Right. It was something to be able to show, look, this is what we can do. let us do this, check this out. We can fucking do this. And if we had the proper shit, we can do it even better. I definitely, it's like blueprints for a development project, right? Hello, Snow. What were you doing in your stream today? The original thing is a masterclass in dialogue and in sound. Yes, 100% blood and popcorn. You're doing great, Ben. That's awesome. Do you need music for your secret movie? I have no idea, James. I'm just winging everything. I have been winging it, getting information from my friends in the industry as it is. I'm not doing any kind of masterpiece work here, guys. It's just my fun, my passion of creating a very short horror film. And hopefully in the summer, I'll have a few more people to help me create that and make it happen. But we'll see. I am. Holy shit, Deadwalk. I'm getting the squirreling out right meow, because we are going to start Coffee Chat of Horrors. You've seen people use the Rock Band game instruments as MIDI controllers? Really, James? That's awesome. Phasmophobia, previously other indie horror games, and just enjoying friends. That's great, Snow. Can I get a shout out for Touch of Snow before we actually dive into CCOH? If you are just joining us, today is a very special stream that I do on Sundays. It's all about the horror, and it's called Coffee Chat of Horrors. I deep dive into our favorite scary movies and some lesser known scary movies, and that is what we're doing today. So it's an hour and a half of horror discussion. If I was only closer, I wish you were closer. The Fly, The Thing, Suspiria, The Blob were the first horror movies I saw as a child. Those are great movies, Mr. Rotten Treats. Excited. I'm always excited to share with you guys. By the way, no self-promote, but I'm always up for voice work. Macabre, I don't mind the self-promote. You're on YouTube, guys. Macabre Tavern is a horror variety content creator creating all sorts of fun stuff. Make sure you check out their channel. Same thing with Blood and Popcorn there over on YouTube. Blood and Popcorn is the same thing. So make sure you guys give some love to one another. We are in this together as creators, especially in the horror realm. We are not each other's competition, and I don't think that's a self-promo. Okay, Macabre? The Fly, that is a great movie. Yes, it is. Okay. Before we fucking squirrel anymore, because I'm good at that, let's get in to our Coffee Chat of Horrors. Let's dive into it.
You like scary movies and coffee.
The following show is based on research on horror movies and what goes on behind the scenes of your favorite scary movies. Horde Entertainment or ReAnimateHer is not responsible for the macabre and horror that you are about to witness. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, my daywalkers. I am ReAnimateHer, your queen of horror, and this is Coffee Chat of Horrors, the only horror show that takes its coffee like it's magic, and that is black and strong. Today's screams comes from the warped mind of David Cronenberg in The Fly from 1986. So buckle up, my ghouls, as we traverse the realms that nightmares are made of. Yes, I am a huge Cronenberg fan. I love Cronenberg films. And today we're talking about The Fly from 1986, which is a remake of the original from 1958. And we're going to talk about both films today. And if you haven't seen The Fly, I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction to it. Then we're going to watch the trailer for the 58 version and then the 1986 version. Now, the horror cinema The Fly from 1986 stands out as a unique exploration of transformation, blending the elements of grotesque body horror with emotional depth. Directed by David Cronenberg, this film follows the descent of a brilliant scientist into a monstrous hybrid of man and insect after a scientific experiment goes awry. It does. And it goes awry, very disastrous. It's such a heartbreaking story. Who here has seen The Fly? I mean, we watched it Thursday night in the Discord. If you are wondering, every Thursday night we do watch horror movies together in the Discord. Everybody is welcomed. We have a lot of fun. You have seen it? Yeah, it's a great film. If I'm not a fan of Cronenberg, but his movie The Fly gets me every time. I'm a huge fan of Cronenberg. He's the godfather of body horror. I mean, nobody does it better than him. Don't get me wrong, Savini is great with his master effects. He's amazing. He is one of the godfathers of special effects. Same thing with Nicotero. However, David Cronenberg's body horror, nobody does body horror like Cronenberg, and his son is literally taking the reins. He has some work to do, but he is coming out pretty strong out of those doors. Did you like The Fly Part 2? Or I prefer the first one, but it's not bad. The Brood, right? Yes. Grotesque and monstrous are good. Thank you very much. So my script is written for an article because eventually I'll be putting my Coffee Chat of Horrors on my website. So I write my scripts as I was doing, if I was doing an article. So thank you very much for that, Deadwalk. I appreciate it. We are going to go watch the original trailer for the 1958 The Fly. And then we're going to dive into the 1986 version. But I want you guys to take a look at the original Fly trailer. Now, if you're watching me on other platforms, you may not be able to see this trailer. So there will be some quietness. I love Mr. Cronenberg. He created the bar for body horror and mod. Oh God, I don't think there's anyone before him that created body horror so well. We do have an ad coming in over on the Twitch side of things. So if you guys know that I do stream to different platforms for Coffee Chat of Horrors, and Twitch is the only platform that I have that does an ad that I cannot control. That's not the only famous movie of Cronenberg. Oh God, he has so many movies, Sebastian. So many movies. You know, he was in Jason X, Videodrome. There's so many movies that Cronenberg has been a part of, whether he's produced, directed, or did the special effects for them. He is famous. You still have to watch Crimes of the Future. Crimes of the Future is definitely different than his other body horror films, I think, in my opinion. I need to watch it again to really get a good wrap around it. But I did see Crimes of the Future. It's not a horrible film. It's pretty good. Videodrome is great. We did a CCOH on Videodrome and on, sorry, I got the hiccup, Scanners. Scanners is a good one. I love Scanners. I love Videodrome. They're such great movies. Now, I don't want to run this if there's an ad. But anyways, let's get into the trailer for 1958.
Will everyone in the theater hold on firmly to his seat, please? Stop it! Stop it! I'm Vincent Price. What unearthly horror did that girl gaze upon? What manner of incredible thing walked beneath that hood? It would be unfair at this time to show you any more of what went on in that laboratory where a man actually dared to play God. So fantastic, words can't begin to describe it. You must see it with your own eyes to believe it. When the fly comes your way.
It isn't like any other fly I've ever seen. Leave it alone! No! No! Please let me look at the fly.
I've killed Andre. Please help me. Call the police and...
The charge can only be murder.
There were no mistresses. I had no lovers.
Why did you kill him?
God, don't let it get out.
Inspector, it's in the garden. Come quickly.
As God is my witness, I saw the thing. It's unbelievable. I shall never forget that scream as long as I live.
The fly's on its way. Watch out for it. It's far beyond anything your mind could ever conceive.
Okay, guys. Now, that was the original Fly from 1958. I know an ad just pops right on in there, right? I do wonder if they got inspiration from Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis. Yes, actually, we're going to touch a little bit into that, Space Cadet. Yeah. The Macabre Tavern, it's best enjoyed after an edible kicks in and acts like an ASMR. If you let me be frank, I had seen this trailer of The Fly. Oh, yes. This is from 1958 starring Vincent Price. Do you want to know a little bit of a tidbit of information here? You noticed how that... Okay, before I do that, how many of you have seen the original Fly from 1958? I want to hear how many have seen it before I tell you this little tidbit of information. Nice, Space Cadet. You've seen the original? Okay, so Speedy, you haven't, but Touch of Snow, you have seen the original. Who else here has seen the original? Didn't know there was an OG of it? Most people haven't. Devil Dog, my love, how are you? So Deadwalk and Devil Dog. Okay, so do you guys remember if the film was done in black and white or color? You've seen it, James, many times? Okay. Do you guys remember seeing it in black and white or color? And this plays my tidbit of information that I have for you. This is what it's going to be. Black and white. I actually didn't know about the 1980s one. Oh, no? Who else? Do you guys remember if it's black and white or color? Some remakes overcome the originals. Yeah, definitely. I think the original Fly was just coming out. A different color. All right. So, although many people who saw this film swear it was made in black and white, it never was. This may be an example of what we call the Mandela effect, which is simply a name for a collective false memory among people which never really happened, yet everybody remembers, right? This film is in color, hence why the trailer is in color. And I own a copy of the film, so it is in color. It was released in color, but everybody swears they've seen it in black and white. Everybody. So now, it's extremely common. The Fly from 1958 was only ever filmed and shown in color. However, its two sequels, Return of the Fly in 1959 and Curse of the Fly in 1965, were made in black and white. This is likely where the confusion comes from, or where people might have watched it on black and white televisions, which were common in the 1980s. Yeah. Crazy, hey? They did see it on black and white TVs. Yep. But it was filmed in color. Yeah, but the other two were black and white films. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, Devil Dog. I know you and I would have seen it on a black and white television back in the day, because that's just how old I am. But it was in color. And it does make sense that people will say, oh no, it's black and white. But even young people, even the younger generation will swear to you that it's in black and white, and it's not. I think it's just, I don't know what it is. I just thought it was funny. I thought that was a pretty cool tidbit of information. Now we will get into the 1986 trailer for The Fly, which Jeff Goldblum, no one can do it better. In my eyes, nobody. And you're going to be fucking surprised by the big names, well, the big names now, that weren't so big, that actually turned this role down or auditioned for it and didn't get it. So here we go with the the 1986 Fly.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
are about to go beyond that limit.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I had them analyzed. But they were definitely not human.
If you saw how scared and angry and desperate he is.
I'm sure Typhoid Mary was a very nice person, too, when you saw her socially.
No!
You're afraid to be destroyed and recreated, aren't you?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing.
Oh no. What's happening to me? Am I dying?
I want to know what's going on.
What does the disease want?
Wants to turn me into something else.
Oh no.
A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone.
Don't go back to it. It could be contagious.
I'm afraid!
Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Help me. Please, help me.
That is The Fly from 1986 with Jeff Goldblum. And yes, he is a handsome but goofy bastard. And I love Bloom. I do. I really do. He is such a fun, amazing actor. He has done so many films as well. Could imagine being turned into a fly. He is a great actor. I'm sure Typhoid Mary was a nice person if you met her socially. That line always gets me, right? That is such a great line, too. Yeah, most of us did, Sebastian. That line always definitely cracks me up as well. It's quite funny. Despite its modest budget of only $15 million, $15 million, it's modest, The Fly soared at box office, grossing $60.6 million worldwide. A remake of the 1958 film inspired by George Langelaan's short story and film was produced by Mel friggin' Brooks, who injected both creative and financial support in this project, which I thought is awesome. Mel friggin' Brooks. I mean, you see that in the beginning of the movie anyway, like it tells you Mel Brooks production. I love Mel Brooks films. And he's like the godfather of comedy and just slapstick kind of comedy movies, right? Spaceballs. Who doesn't love Spaceballs? The 1986 version was written by Charles Edward Prague, who also wrote the fantastic Psycho 3. Yeah, Mel Brooks is great. Mel Brooks did come up with the line that Gina Davis says, "Be afraid, be very afraid." That was his part of the creative process in this film. Do you know that Jeff Goldblum was not the likely candidate for being the lead role of Seth? Yeah. They were, in their words, taking a gamble. Yeah. By using Jeff Goldblum. Yeah. Hi, Donnie. How are you? Regarding remakes, did you see? Yeah, I have. I've seen the newest It chapters. They're all right. Quite long for my taste, but they're okay. So the cast of Jeff Goldblum as the lead of Seth Brundle was initially met with skepticism due to his unconventional physical attributes. However, Goldblum's portrayal adds layers of complexity to his character, challenging traditional notions of transformation in cinema. Additionally, Goldblum's real-life relationship with Gina Davis, who was she plays Veronica Quaife, added authenticity to their on-screen chemistry because Goldblum and Davis were a thing. Okay, you gotta tell us who they actually. I will tell you who. I will tell you. Enjoy your lurk, Snow. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. You love this version of The Fly? Yeah, it's a great remake. Definitely. We will get to who they wanted and then who auditioned and who auditioned for the role and didn't get it, and who they wanted. Some big friggin' names. Now they're big friggin' names. And even back then, some of them were pretty big. Now, Cronenberg asked Chris Wallace, for input on what he wanted for the lead. So when they were talking about who we want for this lead role, what attributes do you want? Jeff Goldblum was not the one that was up there. Wallace was saying, get somebody with no ears, no bridge of the nose, so that they can have more control with the makeup. We know Jeff's got a very prominent nose and pretty, I don't want to say big ears, but definitely the reverse of what Wallace actually wanted. Some of the people they wanted, are you ready for this? Who they want? Voldemort. They wanted someone with less ear and not as prominent, nose. However, Michael Keaton, Mel Gibson, William Dafoe, James Wood, all for the role of Seth Brundle. They have declined. Ones who auditioned and did not get the role: John Travolta and John Lithgow. Yeah. He is a big guy. He would look silly with small. I think his body is very proportionate to what he has on him, right? I think everybody is more proportionate. Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson from back in the day, 86, Mad Max, right? Those are some big names. Yeah, for sure. It would have been crazy. But yeah, those are some big names. Michael Keaton, Mel Gibson. I love William Dafoe. I love William Dafoe. He has a very I love him. James Wood, I don't think James Wood could bring it. I'm glad he turned it down. I'm so glad he turned it down. John Travolta as the Fly. Could you imagine? And remember, John Travolta in the 80s was really just making a name for himself. So he wasn't a huge name, because we know Carrie was one of his breakout roles of an unknown John Travolta, right? And he was just getting into his shit, right? We did a CCOH on Carrie. If you want to see the CCOH on Carrie, it's on my YouTube channel. It's got a lot of great information as well. Bloom is 6'4". Yeah. He's a tall mofo. He's not some short guy. William Dafoe is one out of that group that I could see. Yeah. William Dafoe, he's so versatile. You know what I mean? And he's lanky. He has and could have the attributes. So out of all of those names, I honestly think William Dafoe could have done it. I really don't think Michael Keaton, and back in the 80s, Michael Keaton was a pretty big name, right? He had a lot of movies in the 80s. I think I'd rather see Danny DeVito play the Fly than John Travolta. Oh my God, I love Danny DeVito. I'm something of a fly myself. Yes, Dafoe. Jeff Goldblum absolutely nailed it. Yeah, he did. He definitely did. I think William Dafoe could have nailed it as well. Lithgow could have pulled off the sex appeal. Yeah. I love John Lithgow. I fucking love Raising Cain. It's one of my... Hi, Lulu. How are you? It's one of my favorite films. John Lithgow is another diverse actor, squirrel moment. But we have, William Dafoe is so diverse. He can do any role and do it fucking amazing. I don't think there's a movie that I've seen that is horrible that has William Dafoe in it. Another one, John Lithgow. He's an amazing fucking actor. I love how diversified he is in his acting roles, and he does a really good Psycho. And that's another one who could probably portray an Anthony Perkins Psycho right there. Hello, Regal. Let me prove to Twitch that I am here, motherfucker. And they have reset my shit. I'm sorry, Regs. I think Keaton would have done well. He pulled up. I loved him as Batman. He is my favorite Batman. And I think he can pull off most roles. But I don't know how I would feel about a Michael Keaton as a Fly. Michael Keaton's another one of my favorite actors. Did you like Defoe's performance in The Last Temptation of Christ? I don't know if I've seen that, Sebastian. Lithgow could pull off the smart but not sexy. Yeah, I honestly think they did have the right choice when they went with Goldblum, because he has that sex appeal for a nerdy, goofy guy. You know what I mean? A lot of movies portray nerds as not good looking. Jeff Goldblum has both of those features. He has nerdy and handsome wrapped up into one. And that's just my personal opinion on that. I do like Mel Gibson. I like him as an actor. He's not one of my favorite people in Hollywood, even though he does some really good roles. But Michael Keaton, William Dafoe, and John Lithgow are some of my fucking favorites ever. Before Keaton auditioned for Batman's role, one of the early names to be considered was Tom Hanks. I don't like Tom Hanks at all. I think he's a piece of shit. Yeah, I don't like Tom Hanks. But yeah. Reegs, how's your day going? I heard Michael Keaton is doing Beetlejuice sequel. Yes, he is. I know Beetlejuice and Just Like Freddy is just makeup. However, both of those roles have been brought to life by people who play those roles so well. I don't think anybody else could really do a Beetlejuice. And if they were going to do a Beetlejuice 2 without Michael Keaton, I really don't know how well that would be. I don't know. Just heard the Tom Hanks comment. Yeah, I don't like that piece of shit. I like him, Buscemi. I like him. Him and his eyes. Would have been interesting, but he has no sex appeal. I'm sorry, he has no sex appeal. And The Fly, Seth had to have a little bit of everything. He had to have the nerd, and he had to have that sex appeal. But Steve Buscemi, I don't believe he has, not for me at least, there is no sex appeal. He does make a great psychopath. Yeah, he does. You can't argue with me on that one. Yeah, imagine. Right? Beetlejuice 2 is already completed, and Keaton said he's seen a cut of the film and it's great. I know. I'm excited for Beetlejuice 2. I am. I really am. I have high hopes. I think so, Sebastian. I'm not huge into the superhero movies. Batman is my favorite. Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman. I love Michael Keaton. But I haven't seen a lot of the Batman movies. It's just not my thing. Jake Gyllenhaal, I like him as well. Good morning, Ace. How are you? The lane departure warning light is flashing raw. I know. We're about to get fucking squirreled. No, we're gonna stay on track, guys. We're gonna stay on track. Now, Gina Davis got this role because Jeff Goldblum campaigned for her. He was seeing Gina Davis. They were an item before this movie. Before he was casted for this movie, they were an item previously. And when they were looking for their Veronica Quaife, the love interest, aka Ronnie, he campaigned for her. And I think Gina Davis did an amazing job with this film. I love Gina Davis. She is one of my favorite actresses of all time. And I think she did a great role playing Veronica. And co-starring next to Jeff, I think their chemistry was great. Not only because I know when you watch the film, I didn't know that they were an item. It wasn't until later on did I find out that they were an item, that they were together. And their chemistry on this set was amazing. And Gina Davis, she is amazing, Deadwalk. I love her. I feel like if they made it today, Bill Skarsgård is in everything. Hi Reaper, how are you? Or even Batman from I love Christian Bale. I just love Christian Bale. I've never seen him as Batman. I just love Christian Bale. Yeah, she is very awesome. Deadwalk. Yep. Agreed. Underrated actress. Yeah, she's an amazing actress. She does so many awesome films. So, talking about the women in The Fly, in 1958, Betty Lou Gerson, who played the nurse in the film, was also the voice of Cruella de Vil for the Disney film 101 Dalmatians that was released in 1961. And then she was the voice of the narrator for another Disney film called Cinderella 1950. I wanted to bring out some of the women in these films, and Betty Lou Gerson was the original, right? Austin Butler, The Fly 1986, has aged well. It definitely has aged well. Austin Butler today. I mean, she has an Oscar, but people don't think of her as a great actress. I think she's an amazing actress. I definitely do. Also, another tidbit about the 1958 film. This film became the biggest box office hit of director Kurt Newman's career, but he never knew it or even found out about it. He passed away 1 month after the film's premiere and only 1 week before it went into general release. That sucks. Hopefully, in the spirit realm, he realizes the movie that he directed in 1958 became such a huge cult classic and hit that there were several remakes and additions to it, because there are several sequels to the original Fly and now also to the remake of The Fly as well. What do you think of Rob Pattinson's? I don't know. I don't think I've seen it. I really don't know. Batman. Hold on a second, guys. Outside of horror and comedy, I don't really watch Marvel and DC stuff at all. At all. I just don't. It's not my kind of thing. I watch a lot of thrillers, a lot of drama, and a lot of horror and comedy. So Batman, Spider-Man, whatever man, I don't know. So you're talking to the wrong gal when it comes to that kind of stuff, Sebastian. So I really can't tell you because I have no idea. That would be my luck. Wow. No, don't think like that, Blood. I didn't know it. Thank you for letting us know about the fact regarding the actress. Yeah, no worries. Wait, you watch horror? I know, right? Oh, that's right. I remember learning that on TCM. That's amazing. Yep, I like the original Fly, but this one is my favorite. I love both films, but yes, this remake is definitely an awesome remake. Yeah. Shocking. I know. And I need to do a huge shout out to Reaper1923 for helping me with Coffee Chat of Horrors and creating these fun little image cards that you see here. I really appreciate you, Reaper. Thank you so much. You couldn't tell by my name, right, Donnie? Now I want to watch both. Watch both. Definitely watch both. They're great films. Okay, so now, we know The Fly was not without its challenges. Originally, David Cronenberg was not slated to direct The Fly. He wasn't. There was actually somebody else ahead of him that was creating The Fly and directing The Fly. However, they had a family emergency and, well, they had to get out of their contract with Mel Brooks. And so Mel Brooks wanted David Cronenberg. However, David Cronenberg was tied up in Total Recall. However, some shenanigans and drama went down on the set of Total Recall. So Mel Brooks was able to snatch David Cronenberg. Now, David Cronenberg helped direct and rewrite this script. He was paid $750,000 to direct and rewrite the script. So Mel Brooks wrote a letter to the heads of the studio and was able to counter with $1 million. And he is quoted saying, "Fastest deal I've ever seen made in Hollywood." And that was from Cornfield, right? Wait, Total Recall? Yes, Total Recall. Thank you, Reaper. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. We make a great team. I made your day. Aw. I'm glad you come here for a Coffee Chat of Horrors. Now, did you guys also know that Tim Burton was originally slated before anybody to direct The Fly? Yeah. That he was. Out of everything that's gone on, they were able to get David Cronenberg in, which was great because some shenanigans happened on the set of the Total Recall. So when he was on the set, there was some disgruntledness, and he parted ways, and so he was able to do The Fly. It would have been cool to see his version. It would have been interesting for damn sure to see his version, and that would have been interesting. Yeah. It's weird how some of these things could happen, right? And you think about it. Well, if we already know this directing style, could this director pull this off? What would it have been like? What would it have been? And I always like to think of that. Oh, a quick squirrel moment here. For those of you over on YouTube, I am monetized, obviously, on this channel, and I do a lot of gifting of subs to this channel. In order to be able to accept a gifted membership here, you have to make sure that when you are here, you have allowed gifted memberships to happen. I get 10 gifted memberships a month from YouTube to give you guys, so you guys can get a sneak peek and see what I do behind the scenes, because there's a lot of stuff that I do on YouTube. I post on YouTube for members, and I just want you guys, if you are wanting to be gifted, you have to have this turned on. If you don't have it turned on and you're gifted, it would actually sit there and just sit there until you actually accepted it. So if you follow that, you select allow gifts, then you'll be able, it's right there. So what you do is on YouTube, you go to the dollar sign there, and you're going to see select allowed gifts or select the pinned membership gifting. Confirm you'd like to opt in by turning on allow gifts. It's important that you do that, because if you don't do it, you will not be able to accept it. We do have Horde members that hand out gifted memberships on YouTube and on Twitch. YouTube, however, you have to actually enable it, and I do a lot of gifting of them as well. Maeve, good morning. Good morning. I don't think Tim Burton would have better. No, I don't think Tim Burton would have been better, to be honest, to do The Fly. No, not at all. I don't agree. I agree with you. I don't think he would. But we're going to do a quick little membership gifting. And I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that you have to turn it on in the channel. And I don't want you to miss out on them. So, Now, that was my squirrel. Okay, we're done with my squirreling. We're going to come into the special effects and makeup. In 1958, listen to this little bit of information. In 1958, David Hedison suggested that his character of Andre Delambre wear progressive makeup effects that showed him in a combination of part human and part fly state when his face is finally revealed, instead of just a fully formed fly head as depicted in the film. So if you've seen the original Fly, you know it was just a fly head. They were unable, the producer of the original Fly film from 1958 declined this due to the cost and time required to achieve the combined part human and part fly look, as well as it being too harsh and grotesque for audiences at the time. We do have an ad break over on the over on the Twitch side of things, so we get the squirrel here for a few minutes. Some things tend to happen in accidental way. To succeed, you got to take the first chance you see, and the movie are no exception. Everything, yeah, exactly. You have to take some chances, man. I really thank you for letting this interesting fact about The Fly 1958. Of course, I couldn't talk about The Fly 1986 without bringing up the original. There is not a lot on the original to really do a full CCOH. So when we have original films like, House on Haunted Hill, the original, and I do a CCOH on the remake, I will always bring in both, because usually the originals don't have chock full of information as the remakes have. So on that, I will end up doing these. If there's a remake of it, I will end up doing it on CCOH. So you never have to worry about kind of like, oh, I didn't see it. So you'll understand that I'll give some of those tidbits of information in. And we have 12 seconds before the ad ends over on Twitch, guys. But yes, Coffee Chat of Horrors. I'm considering this season 3. Season 3. So Coffee Chat of Horrors, we do have a season, and it does end, and it doesn't end until the summertime, guys. Summertime. It's, and it comes back in October. So we have several months before June. So June 2nd will be the last CCOH, and then we'll start back up on October. The first Sunday in October, we'll start back up with CCOH, and that will be season 4. I wanted to give you guys a heads up for that because summertime is very short in the country, well, in the province that I live in, and a lot of I'm an outside person in the summer. I ride my motorcycle, I go camping, I traverse through Canada, so I wanted to give you guys that heads up as well. Oh, well, thank you, Sebastian. I wear my hair all different ways. My first introduction to David Hedison was the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea series. Oh, nice. Awesome, Speedy. Awesome. Yes, help me. Do you know that part was removed from the 1958 version of The Fly? So you know where The Fly, he says, help me. That was not in the 1986 version of The Fly. I would struggle to find a lot of stuff for the original Fly. Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff for the original Fly. So that's why I figured I'd throw in some tidbits of information of the original Fly to kind of, mesh well with the remake. So, yeah. Now let's get into a little bit more. So we know for a fact that cost and time was a really big part on how The Fly in 1958 lacked, whereas The Fly in 1986 was fucking phenomenal. I mean, so phenomenal that it's on par with American Werewolf on London's full body transformation. Like, the Fly transformation is insane. And I have a lot of information on that. Hi, Carlos. How are you? I wish you luck, Sebastian. So we definitely know that time constraints, money, and that the fact that it would have been too grotesque for audience at the time in 1958. Horror movies were a lot different in 1958. There wasn't, in the 1950s, let's just say 1950s and 60s. The 50s and 60s didn't have a lot of blood, guts, and gore in it, unlike the 70s. The 70s got wild. Whereas in the 50s, it was pretty tame. You can let your children now watch, all of the classic horror because there's no sex. There's no tiggle bitties. There's no like murderous scenes like you see in today's horror. Actually, today's horror is just wow. But let's get back to the transformation of The Fly. Now, the transformation sequences in The Fly required extensive prosthetic makeup, with Jeff Goldblum spending hours each day in the makeup chair. From melting eyeballs to the grotesque mutations, the film pushed the boundaries of practical effects, earning it an Academy Award for Best Makeup. Yeah, you heard that right. An Academy Award for Best Makeup. And it did. It had amazing makeup. If you've seen this film, the special effects, holy shitballs, is like the gold star of practical effects. The transition over the course of the 1986 film was incredible. Got started on classic horror as a little walker. Exactly. I started my little spawns off on classic horror. My spawns have seen all the originals, all of the classic monsters, all of Hammer horror. Well, at a very young age, there's some Hammer horror that I did not allow them to see. But they started off on all the classic horror. From Albert and Costello, Babes in Toyland. Start them off with those kinds of films and then work them up, right? You've never seen The Fly. Well, Carlos, The Fly is a great movie. It has a remake. So the original was 1958, and then the remake was in 1986. Both Flies have sequels, and both Flies have, there's the remake and so forth. I would suggest checking it out, Carlos. Giallo movies inspired other filmmakers to make these kinds of movies. Yeah, Sebastian, there's a couple of good documentaries on Mario Bava. There's a new one on Dario Argento on Shudder, which I would highly suggest checking out if you love Giallo. The makeup effects for the 86 Fly was phenomenal. Fuck yes, it was. Very phenomenal. And I have some inside information on that one. So Jeff Goldblum often required 5 pounds of prosthetic makeup that took up to 5 hours to apply each day. Can you imagine 5 pounds of makeup? 5 pounds of makeup on your face. I don't wear that much. I mean, I wear makeup, but I don't wear that much makeup. I couldn't fucking imagine what that would feel like on my face. Took my wife to see The Fly 2 on Valentine's Day. We're divorced now. Oh no. When I was a kid, there was an instance I saw movies as The Fly almost every day on TV. Cool. I started as a kid watching Hammer House of Horror. My mom raised me right with my horror education. Exactly. And you're in the UK. Hammer Horror originated there. It actually had a different name before it became Hammer Horror, or Hammer House of Horror. But yeah, I mean, that is a perfect way to raise your children if you want them to get, if you are a scary movie type of parent like I am. I started them all off on the classics, all of the old films, to give them so they grew up with an appreciation for horror. Now, you know, the young one loves horror. The elder one she can do with or without it. The Fly's acidic vomit was comprised of a mixture of milk, eggs, and honey. It's so gross how like he spews it out, and that was made up of milk, eggs, and honey. I like honey, but yeah, that consistency of the Fly's acid vomit that it would just spew. Hello, Angie, how are you? My Sunday is fabulous. I hope yours is doing well as well. I don't know if you know this fact, but Jim Carrey was trained by CIAs to play the Grinch. Oh, nice, Sebastian. Yeah, milk, eggs, and honey was now you're never going to look at that shit the same. So every time the Fly didn't spew any kind of vomit, that's what you were looking at. KY jelly. We have some KY. We have some KY, Dahi. We're getting into that. We're getting into the KY section. Now, we know Hollywood loves KY jelly. It's used in everything they do, from the Predator to the Xenomorph and Alien. Yeah, a lot of KY jelly. They must have fucking stock in that shit. All right, Seth's melting eyeballs. Do you guys remember that? Jeff suffered for this role. He really did. He really did, Deadwalk. Seth's melting eyeballs were created by using condoms. We know Hollywood loves condoms and KY jelly. The Xenomorph's tendrils was shredded condoms. Predator had condoms as well. Everybody loves fucking condoms in Hollywood. So Seth's melting eyeballs were created using condoms. The outside had contact lenses applied to them to match the makeup worn by Jeff Goldblum. The insides were filled with KY jelly and pieces of shredded rubber. Fishing line was attached from the fake eyes to the back of the prosthetic insect head. As the head expanded, the condoms were torn apart, with the KY falling perfectly through the orbital sockets. Yeah, blood. It was used on Freddy Krueger. KY jelly is used everywhere in Hollywood, everywhere. So is condoms and shredded condoms. Like, Hollywood has it for shredded condoms, everything. I think it was called Just Hammer Films originally. Hollywood gets a lot of shit from the family planning aisle and sex shops. They do. And remember, kids, practice safe horror. Exactly. But yeah, the eyes, which is a really cool scene of melting eyeballs. Really cool to know how it was created as well, using contact lenses and makeup and KY jelly and pieces of rubber. It's a very grotesque scene in the film. We've got a lot of scenes in the film later on in the film that become grotesque, not just with Jeff Goldblum, Seth's character, but with Stathis' character as well. He has a melting hand, which we'll get into. Is Mosquitoes a real movie? Probably, Carlos, probably. Now, Jeff Goldblum found the makeup he wore, which showed Seth nearing the end of his transformation, very tiring because the makeup and latex was putting weight on his eyes. So this was the scene where towards the middle end of the film, you see the full transformation. He had 5 pounds of makeup on his face. He's sitting every day. He had the latex and the makeup that was on his face weighing down his eyes. He found that was the most exhausting time of the filming, was all of that makeup and the heaviness on his eyes. Now, let me have a sip of my coffee here. I love Freddy vs. Jason Sebastian. Now, Chris Wallace, Inc., was the designer studio graphic books on disease. So he studied graphic books on disease as a starting point for their Brundle Fly makeup creature design. So he did a lot of looking into things on how to create certain things, how you want to do this to make it look like this. And he studied some of these graphic disease books, which can be pretty friggin' graphic. All right. 5 pounds of makeup, that makes my neck ache just thinking about it. Yeah. Can you just think the amount of makeup you wear on Halloween doesn't even compare to the amount of makeup Jeff Goldblum wore for The Fly? Watch From Beyond, 1986. Most people have heard ReAnimateHer 85. Yep, I watched From Beyond. Extensive prosthetics for prolonged periods of time are so taxing. Definitely. Chris Wallace lives here in Portland, Oregon now, just up the street, actually. Dude goes all out on Halloween. That is really cool, Blood and Popcorn. That is pretty cool. But yeah, he did. He studied disease, graphic books on disease. The final Brundlefly creature is horribly deformed and asymmetrical. This reflects the director David Cronenberg's idea that the creature shouldn't be a giant fly, but rather a literal fusion of man and insect that embodies elements of both, which the original Fly wanted to do very similar aspect. But the producer declined it because time and money, and thought it was too grotesque for the time. And I would have to agree, for 1958 to see that kind of transformation probably would have been too grotesque for that time. But this is what David Cronenberg wanted to have. He didn't want to just have a fly head on a body. He wanted it to be a meld of both creatures together to create the Brundlefly that you see in The Fly. Don't you imagine anybody else playing Freddy Krueger? I do. I have a few thoughts on that one. You love this movie. How can you not love this movie? It's a great movie. It's those kind of details that really sell the story. It really is. So you guys remember the creepy boss, Stathis? Right? He's creepy in the film with Gina Davis, right? He's in her apartment taking an effing shower. She comes home. She's like, WTF, dude, what are you doing? Like, he was a really creepy dude in this film. And then he turns out to be basically a hero, which is so weird. Does The Fly 1986 deserve to have its own remake in 20? I don't want to see a remake of The Fly. No. There are so many movies that do not need a remake, and The Fly is one of them. I don't even think you could pull it off. It would be so much CGI because the practical effects would probably be very expensive. I think the melding of both form is what made it so unsettling. Yeah. Stathis Borans. Yeah. So he has a melting hand in that one as well, right? So he's fighting, he got the shotgun, boom, boom. Okay, so one of the most challenging visual effects to achieve in the film was Stathis Borans, who was played by John Getz, who played his role as Stathis, melting hand at the end of the film. The shot was achieved in the same way as Tote's melting mug in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Both shots were supervised by makeup artist Chris Wallace. The effect was created by first molding the mutilated hand and placing it beneath a sculpture of a perfectly healthy hand. The gelatin of the healthy hand began melting under the hot movie lights in conjunction with the hairdryer while the camera filmed at low speed. So that is how that part was done. John Getz' character arc as the creepy boss is very interesting aspect. Don't think you can do that now. Oh, 100% blood and popcorn. He did a great job playing the creepy boss dude. And then, you know, in her effing shower. What? That is ingenious, right? I love learning about how the makeup artists and special effects artists do these things. I think it's really interesting to find this information and learn what they do in these films. Like I think that's the best part. So now we're gonna hit up some 1958 information here. Since we still got some stuff for you. We still got quite a bit of stuff for you. However, we are going to talk a little bit about the 1958. Andre wears the same clothes in nearly every scene during the film, with the exception of the night he and Helen go out to the ballet to celebrate. Now, Andre plays the role of Seth. I can't beat that with a couple of CGI pixels. No, you can't. No, definitely. And you loved how, he sold playing the melting hand really, really friggin' well. You honestly thought his hand was melting right the fuck off. 100% Deadwalk. 100%. I mean, that's one of the things that makes something so realistic for the moviegoer is, could you imagine if he just like lame dicked it? And was just like, oh my God, my hand. It would not have the same realness or hit the same if he did it that way. But the look on his face, the sheer terror on his face, the pain, the way he portrayed his hand melting really put it all together and did a great job. Practical effects need to be more common these days. It hits the horror realism. Yeah, I agree. I do love a little CGI in my films. I think that's the reason why I can't stand the Marvel and DC films that they have. It's just so much green screen CGI that it's just not my thing. And maybe that's just because of the era I grew up in or what I really like in movies. But that's one of probably the reasons why I don't watch those types of films. It's just so much CGI. I mean, yeah, okay, you couldn't pull off half of that shit, even with special effects. So... He did Deadwalk. He literally looked like he was going into shock with that. With 1958, Andre, he wears the same clothes. Production was, they didn't have a shit ton of money. So wearing the same clothes was a big thing, usually back then. And they wanted it less formal and more casual. So he wore the same outfit. He wore the same outfit every day of filming, whereas this is the only time he wears something more fancy and different when they were going out to celebrate at the ballet. This is why on set, special makeup effects are better. They look and feel organic. CGI takes me out of the movie. Exactly, blood and popcorn. I will agree with you. I do like a sprinkle of CGI. Don't get me wrong. But I wholeheartedly love full-on practical effects right out of the fucking park. But again, like I said, I think that my issue with watching Marvel, I've never seen any of them. I mean, I've watched Iron Man. Who hasn't? But I just can't get into those films. And it's not that the acting is bad, because the acting is great. It's just there's so much CGI. Maybe that's my issue. I don't know. Did you guys know that the telepods in this movie were inspired by Cronenberg's motorcycle? Regarding CGI, I saw Flash last year, and to be frank, there was an abuse of AI through the film. So CGI and AI are definitely different. AI, you're seeing a lot of AI shit now, and it's kind of scary. Really scary. And that's a whole other topic. But the telepods were inspired by Cronenberg's motorcycle. Cronenberg described the early designs as the now iconic teleportation pods in his movie. In the DVD commentary is where he actually speaks about his motorcycle. And in the commentary as being more like phone booths or glass showers. The final design took inspiration from the cylindrical structure of Cronenberg's vintage Ducati 450 Desmo motorcycle. And he does, if you have the DVD commentary, I'm going to tell you to actually watch it and listen. It's a lot. I pulled a lot of information from the commentary. I watched The Fly 2 times this week. One time was in Discord with you guys, and then I watched the commentary and listened to the commentary for this so I can pull information. As a filmmaker, I think CGI should be used as a tool to fix issues like removing telephone poles from a period. Yeah, exactly, Blood. That's what I mean by a sprinkle of CGI. Just like with a squirrel moment here. You guys remember The Exorcist, right? You know that spider crawl wasn't in the original theatrical release. And it wasn't until much later was it put into the film because they were able to have the removal of the wires and shit from that spider crawl, right? So that's where CGI, I know I'm running so close in time. This is a longer CCOH. So taking out those wires and stuff was a big deal for The Exorcist when you watch that movie on the Blu-ray or DVD that you have now, because that spider crawl was not in the theatrical release on day one. All right, now let's head on down to the next thing. The name of the lead character also comes from the director's obsession with fast things. The name Brundle took from a Formula One racing named Martin Brundle. Cronenberg said in his commentary, "A lot of names I invent for my characters come from the annals of motor racing. I don't know why. For some reason, I'm just a big enthusiast of motor racing." And that's, again, comes from the DVD commentary. That's why I put it in there. A lot of people think that he came up with the Brundle fly name because it's the fly, and the fly is a form of a species called a Brundle. No, it actually came from Martin Brundle, which is a Formula One racer. So that's where he comes up with the name Brundle, Seth Brundle, and hence why it's the fly. And it kind of just mixes together. I noticed, Deadwalk, that it's not working, and I don't know why. Stream Elements, man. Stream Elements. 1958. We're going to sit on over to some 1958 in 4 of the Fly films. So we have 1958, Fly 1, 1958-9, Fly 2, and then you have 1986 and 1989. The laboratory is assessed by a large sliding metal door in Andre Delabard's lab in the 1950s film. So in 1958 and 1959, it's a big sliding door. Every time I think of a big sliding door, I think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Where Leatherface just opens up and slams that fucking door, right? So in the original Flies, you are seeing a laboratory is accessed by a large sliding metal door, whereas in the film in 86 and 89, it is completely different. Kick the butt. Yeah. I saw it in the theater, The Exorcist, when it first came out. And then I watched The Exorcist again when it came out again in theaters, and that part. Yeah, it definitely. Moon, thank you so very much for continuing your sub over here 1 month as a Leviathan member. I appreciate you. Thank you so very much for that. I'm glad you're enjoying our live stream. We are going to go a little over today. I do apologize to my mods. I'm sorry that my CCOH has taken a life of its own, and it's going to be a little bit longer. So Gina Davis wasn't acting when Jeff Goldblum's right ear falls off. She wasn't acting. She didn't even realize it was going to happen. So they're filming this scene, and you just imagine yourself. Gina Davis is in a relationship, so she has feelings for Jeff. She's in love with him, and she's portraying a character who's also in love with Seth. She's playing a journalist that's in love with Seth Brundle, and her reaction to where his ear falls off, completely genuine, and she was so shocked. And David Cronenberg was so fucking happy he was actually continuing the take when that happened because it just added to the realism of his ear falling off. And she had no idea that was going to happen. So when it happened, she was just like, what the fuck? So surprise. Yeah, exactly, Dai. Surprise, Gina. But it was definitely great to see. The most of the makeup work and puppets used in this film are now located in Bob Burns' collection. Yeah, can you imagine how much that collection is worth right now? You guys remember the baboon? Oh, first, I cannot pronounce your name. L, welcome to the crypt. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate the follow. I just can't say your name. If you want to put the pronunciation of your name in my chat, please do so, and I will say it. Gina picks up ear. You drop this, right? Do you guys remember the baboon? The baboon's name is Typhoon. Typhoon the baboon was very scary to work with. He was very much a wild animal and not an actor. The Wrangler and Jeff Goldblum, who is 6'4", were the ones who had to keep the primate in check. Now, baboons are very primal and territorial. They go by the alpha male. And if there is a alpha male present with another alpha male, one will bow down. Jeff Goldblum was the alpha, and he kept his alpha presence on the set every time you see Typhoon the baboon in the scenes. Because you got to remember, even if an animal in Hollywood is bred and taught to do these things, they're still a friggin' wild animal. Your dog is a wild animal. The cat that you love so much is a wild animal. They're still animals. Ra is slacking on her Spanish. I am, Deadwalk. Very much so. Like Jaws when he looks in the porthole of the boat. Yep. So Typhoon the baboon was scary to work with, and everyone on the set was afraid to work with the baboon, except for, Jeff Goldblum was a little nervous, but he had to show that he was the alpha, and he actually kept the baboon in check with the Wrangler. Did you know that The Fly had a couple of deleted scenes and alternate endings when when it was done? And you get to see these on the director's cut. I would have a hard time trusting a Typhoon. I would too. Like, he's a wild, yes, okay, he is a trained animal. However, he's still a fucking animal, right? Still an animal. So there's only so much trust you can put into that. All of them on set, right? No matter what animal is on set or creature is on set, you can only put so much trust into them because they are a friggin' wild animal. Now, The Fly has become known for two now infamous deleted scenes, one of which was filmed and the other was just scripted. The one filmed involved Seth fusing his pet baboon with a house cat in the teleportation pod to create one ultra-violent mutated monster. The beast becomes so aggressive in the lab that creature is beaten to death with a lead pipe. The scene was deemed too dark and was cut from the final edit. Yeah. Never work with animal and kids. Yep. There was more with the baboon, which was cut. Yes, there was. I think there was a spider baboon scene. There was a few different scenes with the baboon, but it was also taken out. There was a lot of script talking about the baboon, but not actual filmed pieces. And there was another scene with a bag lady, and that was also removed. So yeah, could you imagine the violently mutated baboon cat creature? And yeah, that would be kind of crazy. What the hell's going on there? I tell you, I've got gremlins. Okay. Anyways, yeah, the ultra-violent mutated cat baboon creature was so violent that they had to remove it. And yeah, he was beating it with a lead fucking pipe, right? That was very violent. They were like, nah, we can't do that. Yeah, the cat. Yeah, it was a house cat that he was going to like into the lab, right? The other scene left in the script, so this one was in the script, entailed Seth feeding out of a dumpster in an alley before being spotted by a bag lady. When the bag lady screams in horror, Seth attacks and spits vomit on her before feasting on her body. That was left in the script. It was not filmed, whereas the other scene was filmed where he beats the shit out of the house baboon cat. Yeah. Oh, we got an ad break happening here, guys. It's going to end in about 10 seconds. I didn't even realize that ad break was happening. Yeah, I can see why that scene would be cut. It would be a bit much. It would be a bit much, you know. Definitely getting to see the cat and the baboon all like, you know, mutated together and then, you know, killing it, you know. Welcome back, guys, over on the Twitch side of things. Now, the two alternate happy endings were filmed for The Fly, but ultimately cut. So, yes, there are two alternate happy endings. So, as a counterpoint to Veronica's nightmare, you know the nightmare she's giving birth and she gives birth to this nasty maggot? Yeah, that was a puppet. Both alternate endings involve Veronica giving birth to a baby with brundle fly wings, sorry. The difference between the two is that in one, Veronica wakes up and realizes she's still pregnant. The other leaves her pregnancy ambiguous. In two other alternate versions, Stathis consoles Veronica after she has an unseen nightmare by telling her the baby is his. In the end, Cronenberg opted to conclude the film with the death of his hero. Now, Cronenberg does have a cameo in The Fly. Does anybody know who Cronenberg was in The Fly? We see him briefly in a scene, and you really can't tell that it's him, and you wouldn't know it's him unless you actually looked this film up to figure out who he was. He plays the gynecologist who delivers the baby. So in that nightmare sequence that she's having, you know, the gynecologist, he's got the green mask over his face. Obviously, he's wearing like scrubs and he's got the hat on. You would never know it was Cronenberg because you don't see his face. You just see his eyes. And so that there, yep, was the birth doctor. So he was the gynecologist who delivers the baby. There we go. We still got quite a bit to go. Decades after its release, The Fly continues to captivate audiences with its blend of horror and psychological insight. David Cronenberg's exploration of unchecked ambition and the consequences of scientific progress resonates with viewers, cementing the film as a masterpiece of the genre. And it really is a masterpiece of the horror sci-fi genre. And it is kind of scary when you think about science and what they have to do to progress in any kind of scientific improvement or progress, right? You think about that. How many times do they, you know, experiment on things, creatures, animals, humans, before they get things correct? It's kind of scary and unsettling. In my mind, it is. I think it is. And here's a really cute little thing that I heard. In 1987, there was an interview with Sinister Image. The 1987. Vincent Price revealed that when this remake was released and starred Jeff Goldblum, he actually wrote Jeff a letter. Yeah. And Jeff wrote him a letter, and Price was so touched by that letter. So Jeff Goldblum wrote a letter to Vincent Price, and in this letter it said, "I hope you like it as much as I liked yours," which Jeff did watch The Fly. from 1958. And Price was so very touched that he composed a reply and went to see the film, which he described as wonderful right up to a certain point. It went a little too far, which goes hand in hand with the producer turning down the fly human mutation scene in 1958, basically saying that this was too grotesque for that time. And it was too grotesque for Vincent Price as well, from a totally different era, right? Which I thought was really cool. A tidbit of information about Jeff writing a letter explaining how much he enjoyed the original Fly and that he hopes that Vincent enjoys his portrayal of the Fly. And he did. And he says, up until a certain point. Well, Mr. Price is from a different generation, and you are right, Deadwalk. He really is from a different generation. And his films, his horror films, are on a different level as well. Like I said, going back into the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, even in the 60s of horror. Come on, buddy. Sorry, guys. Mr. Chico wants to come up. Am I still injured, baby? So in those eras, the blood and guts and gore, not really a thing, right? Neither was the sex and violent sex. That wasn't a thing in those times. It wasn't until much later did that become a thing and just more progressive as the years have gone on in the horror genre. Yeah, Mr. Cheeks, he's I think he's in a little bit of pain because he wants to snuggle. Now, in the line, I am saying I'm an insect who dreamt he was a man and loved it, but now that dream is over and the insect is awake. It is a reference to author, I can't pronounce his name, Zhuangzi's famous butterfly dream story. It also a reference to Franz Kafka's famous short story, The Metamorphosis. So that whole little scene where he says, I'm saying I am an insect who dreamt he was a man. And that was a sad part in The Fly for me, listening to him as he's already transforming and becoming. And I'm sure the transformation was not painless. I'm sure it was pretty painful. And he's saying that to Gina Davis. I'm saying I'm an insect who dreamt he was a man and loved it. But now that dream is over and the insect is awake. It was a very excellent short story, Dahi. Vincent Price cookbooks are great. I love Vincent Price. Just love them. But yeah, that there, it really got me. And that is also, we wanted to make sure that we put it in there, that it was reference to the author for the famous butterfly dream story. And it is also a reference to Franz Kafka's famous short story, The Metamorphosis, which was brought up earlier today by Space Cadet. The scene where Seth and Ronnie are having coffee at the restaurant, there's a scene where he just, before he transforms, so he already went into his telepod, he was already mutated with the Fly. They're in the restaurant in a cafe and they're having coffee. And Seth is talking endlessly on. And most of that rambling on was half written. The rest of it was all Jeff. And the part that he was rambling on was actually written the night before the scene was going to be filmed. So it was a shorter dialogue between Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum, and he thought it needed a bit more manic effect. And so he actually did some writing on this film right before the scene was even filmed the night before. And so I thought that was a really good piece, that scene there. It just showed how manic and hyped Seth has become after his mutation with the Fly. Another great thing, the 86 version, is how they created the element of sympathy for the Brundle. I know, right? You feel bad for him. I felt bad for him, and I really felt bad after he realized what was happening to him. David Cronenberg, there's that scene there. And there's another scene that we're going to talk about here as well. But David Cronenberg was surprised when the film was seen by some critics as a cultural metaphor for AIDS, since he originally intended the film to be more of a general analogy for disease itself, terminal conditions like cancer, and more specifically, the aging process. So when people seen this film, and actually was just like, they could, see it as a metaphor for AIDS, because in the 80s, AIDS was a huge thing for the 80s. I mean, you can't remember the 80s without remembering the AIDS pandemic. And when this film was released in 1986, right? So that is like prime time for this whole epidemic. And critics were actually saying that this movie was about AIDS, which is the funny part is that David Cronenberg did create this movie, looking at disease and more specifically aging, which is insane. It's really cool to be able to, see that and understand that, he did make this originally about disease and aging, and other people took it for cultural of that time. Hello, Gray. How are you? If you're just joining us, we are doing Coffee Chat of Horrors, deep dive into The Fly from 1986 with a little bit of 1958 original Fly in there. One of your favorite horror movies? Nice. Have you seen the original from 1958 starring Vincent Price? Yes, Blood. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, you got to remember a lot of the things going on, especially in horror, in that time, had its influences from the AIDS epidemic. Just like vampire films have a history of when times are tough financially, just like Nosferatu, the original Nosferatu, when it was created in a time of depression. So vampire movies also have their own connection to society, just like some of the horror movies of the 80s have that to the realm of the culture of the time. I actually watched it many years after watching 86 version. Right on, Gray, right on. Totally. I think, totally, Deadwalk. I think that's a big part of it. Sticks with you past just the grotesqueness. Yeah. Well, yeah, the sympathy for the Brundlefly, like you feel bad for him. And it's a nice blended effect. Like they blended it really well. The empathy and the sympathy with the body horror and the transformation was very well blended. Very well blended. And you do feel bad. And there's numerous scenes in that movie where I felt horrible for Seth Brundle, just because of what he was going through. That whole bathroom scene really stuck with me, where he is literally transforming and he's like, what the fuck is going on? And he's looking at his finger and oh my Lord, when that scene comes, my skin fucking crawls and I feel really bad for Seth because he's realizing what the fuck is happening to him. This great, brilliant mind, not understanding what was happening to him. And then really it kicks him in the dick. And he realizes what the fuck is happening. And it's just just a lot of emotions in that film. A lot of emotions. You have anger, sadness, denial, literally. And it goes with aging and disease, if you think about it. We all deny the fact that we're getting old. We use beauty creams and plastic surgery and all of this stuff to try to stop the aging process. And same with disease. You have those different steps in disease. As you can see in this film, he's going on. He feels great. He totally doesn't understand what's happening to him, but Gina Davis sees it. She sees what's going on and the drastic change in him. And then he finally starts to see, and he's denying it, right? The denial now kicks in. It's not until later on in the film does he accept what's happening. It kicks him in the dick, which eventually falls off and is saved in a jar. Right, Blood and Popcorn? Because, yeah, you just Reminds me of a scene in another movie. Yeah, the fingernail scene always sits with me. And as great as some actors that were considered for the role are, Jeff Goldblum really just pulled off all aspects of the character so much better. He really did. I just love him in this movie. The denial and hope was up until the end. Then you realize this is a horror movie and there isn't any going back. Yep. And you can see his acceptance. You can see his whole process, right? And that's really, you have a lot of sympathy for Seth Brundle, even though it was just, he was stupid and he didn't check his surroundings and verify that he was in a sterile conditions. That's what I don't understand for such a brilliant mind, how his conditions were not sterile. Because that fucking fly, man, that fly. You know, the fly was on a piece of fish string, a fish line, I should say, so that it's clear, and it flies around the baboon's head. Yeah, and it's a fake fly. Just a little bit of information there. So while the setting is never explained or discussed in this movie, you do see the characters in the outside and open areas. You see the CN Tower, Kensington Market, and various other Toronto landmarks are shown throughout the film. And some of the lingo that is said is Canadian. And so if you didn't know, this film takes place in Toronto, is where it was filmed at. You do see the CN Tower, Kensington Market, which these are two famous things in Toronto, two famous places in Toronto. And there's also the lingo that viewers will note that the local barfly, you remember in the bar scene? He just got his transformation done. No, not his transformation, but he just had his mutation done. And Gina Davis and him have a little bit of a fight. And then he goes to this bar where he picks up this chick, right? So he's in the bar and he is in there with a barfly and he arm wrestles this guy. And there is a Canadian term that is used here in Canada, which is because the Americans have a different term for it. But the term chocolate bars. Chocolate bars is a term here to describe what Americans would call candy bars, right? You guys call your chocolates candy bars. Here in Canada, we call them chocolate bars. You won't say, oh, here, I just got my candy bar, because candy is a hard candy here. So when you say candy, people think of lozenges, any kind of hard candies that you would put in your mouth. That's considered candy. And chocolate is considered chocolate, so a chocolate bar. Also, Marky, the barfly who Seth gruesomely defeats in a one-sided arm wrestle, is also played by George Chuvalo, a famous Canadian heavyweight boxer. You wouldn't know that unless you were Canadian and watched boxing. But yeah, he is a famous Canadian boxer. The movie Piranha. Oh, the movie Piranha is good. It's a cautionary tale about making emotional decisions, especially after consuming alcohol. Right? Definitely. Same in the UK. Yeah. I have seen the top of the CN Tower and looked down through the glass floor. Yeah. Right? Experiments rely on strictly controlled conditions, but maybe that's a lesson too. Well, yeah, you think about it. You would think that he is such a brilliant mind and a scientist that his surroundings would have been sterile. There would have been no fly. But then again, there would be no fly if there was no fly. You know what I mean? We call them chocolate bars. Yes, I know in the UK you guys call them chocolate bars. I would be paralyzed. It's kind of scary when you look through it's like going to Jasper and the glass bridge on Jasper, which is here in Alberta. It's quite scary. Now, we have another part of the metamorphosis here. After their metamorphosis, this is for about flies, actual flies. Okay, so after the metamorphosis, adult flies break out of their pupa by inflating their heads to crack it open, something they are only able to do at this stage of their life cycle. Though not apparent on screen, Seth's head is pushed off in the same way. The mechanical head underneath the prosthetic Brundle face was built to expand from human to insect proportions in order to push off the human skin. And we see that in the transformation where he's now going through the full transformation. Hi, Jamie. How are you? Thank you for sharing the live. So with that happening, you slowly see the human head basically crumble and open where the fly head is coming in. And now Jeff was wearing a like a prosthetic where you can see the two eyes, the two big giant fly eyes, and when he is transforming into the fly, you can see his head pop up, and then it just basically kind of crumbles and opens up. It's kind of gross. It is gross, not kind of gross. It is gross, and it's a cool, really, really cool transition scene. The reason why Seth Brundle's head becomes so enlarged and misshapen towards the end of his transformation was that the two large compound fly eyes were to be revealed on the top of his head back when Seth was going to turn into more of a fly monster than a fly human fusion. If you look closely, especially in shots that show the back of Seth's head, you can still see the circular outline of the fly's eyes. So if you go and watch this movie now, make sure you take a look at that. I don't know why there would be an echo, Jamie. There is no other sound besides my microphone, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, not sure at all. His brilliant mind got in the way. He assumed he was clear because why wouldn't he be? Oh, very, very true. He's a very smart guy. But that part there, I thought was really cool. And yes, you can actually see the fly eyes when you look at the back of Seth's head. And that is the reason why it becomes so enlarged, because of what an adult fly goes through. What an actual fly goes through in the pupa stage, it expands its head to break the pupa, right? So in this film, they had it to where Seth's fly head expanded and ripped out I'm not sure. It was over on the TikTok side of things. And it pushed open the human head, and there he is. So just in case if you were kind of questioning the fact of why his head becomes so fucking enlarged and misshapen towards the end. There's another scene in the beginning where he is mutated with the fly. You know the scene where Seth performs gymnastic moves around his apartment for obviously done by a gymnastic stand-in. So there's this really cool scene where he's done doing the dirty with Gina Davis, and he gets up out of bed because he's woken up by a fly that he captures in his hand, right? He captures his fly in his hand, and then he opens his hand up and the fly flies away. He gets up out of bed and he sees the chair, and he decides to do this gymnastic routine on this chair, which takes a core strength, like unbelievable core strength. Those were done by a gymnast. However, Cronenberg does point out that the gymnasts were not used to doing their moves in multiple takes. While competing, gymnasts train for up to years at a time to perform only once, right? So when a gymnast is performing, they're practicing, and then their performance is done once, and then they're done, right? They had to perform their moves so many times during the filming, it got to the point where they couldn't even do them any longer. Like their bodies physically could not do these moves anymore. That's how many times they had to keep filming and do these shots over and over and over and over. Their bodies physically could not do it anymore. And I thought that was insane, because it's that scene looks so smooth, when he's doing it, and you're just like, God damn, those abs, that core strength. And yeah, and learning about that, oof, definitely like the gym. I feel bad for the gymnasts, because they were doing it so much that by the time filming was done, I can't do it anymore. Their body would not do it anymore. Now, the fly can also be interpreted as a metaphor for the destructive consequences of unchecked ambition and the potential horrors that lie within scientific progress, which is what we were talking about earlier, where, his room could have been clean. You would have had a sterile room for experimentations, but he was very ambitious, and ambition unchecked ambition, which is what he had, definitely gave potential horror and, how to grow in the scientific process and have progress in science. You do have to break a few eggs, right? That's how it goes. And now we are coming to the conclusion and the end of CCOH. The Fly remains a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring legacy of one's horror cinema, by one of most visionary directors of our time, David Cronenberg. From its humble origins to its lasting impact, the film invites viewers to confront their deepest fears and contemplate the nature of transformation itself. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this coffee chat of horrors on The Fly from 1986 and 1958. I hope I gave you some good information. And yeah, thank you all for being here for CCOH. You will be able to catch the VOD on my YouTube channel. Do you like the sequel? It's not horrible. It's not horrible. I would suggest everybody just see it. Unchecked ambition and ethical quandaries in scientific advancement, definitely something we can relate to today. Oh, hell yes, Dahi, 100%. This one was great. Thank you very much, Deadwalk. Yeah, another fabulous CCOH. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Rushing into things. Yeah, basically, he had that ambition, right? That unchecked ambition that made him so, manic. And science can be pretty horrific, man. Can be very horrific. Thank you, Greg. Thank you very much. Coffee Chat of Horrors is done every Sunday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and I'm not quite sure what CCOH I'm doing for next Sunday. But I will let you guys know on the socials what our next CCOH will be. We have quite a few to go through. I might be doing a double feature. Because some of the movies that we're going to be discussing are underrated and have very little information on them that I'm really going to have to dive into. Steve, thank you for being here. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. A retro pinup. Thank you for the tiggle bitties. Seriously, thank you so very much for flashing us them tiggle bitties. The whole grosser slime. Oh. What are you talking about, Dawn? You mean the puke vomit from The Fly? I love CCOH. I only like The Fly sequel. The Fly sequel is not horrible. I enjoy the films, right? As he said, they always find a way. They always find a way. They do. If you did miss our live discussion of CCOH, The Fly from 1986 and 1958, you can definitely check it out over on my YouTube channel. It will be cut up into chapters because we do get into shenanigans. Right before we start CCOH, I do probably about 20 minutes of squirreling where we talk about whatever. We had a really good discussion on slasher and horror before we dived into CCOH. So if you're into that, you'll be able to check it out. If you only want to get the facts and the nitty gritty, that'll also be a section on YouTube where you can just go straight to that instead of watching the whole shenanigans that we do, because I squirrel quite a bit. Frankenberry 138, welcome to the crypt. Thank you so very much for that follow. So Coffee Chat of Horrors, 11 a.m. every Sunday. Season 3 will be ending in June. On June 2nd will be our last CCOH, and then season 4 will pick up in October. Coffee Chat of Horrors is in seasons. Just because we have warm weather coming and our summer is very short here in Alberta, and we always got to take advantage of the nice weather. You're always looking for horror content. Well, Frankenberry, you're in the right place because all I do is horror content from video games to movies to cosplay. Great hanging out with you, Blood and Popcorn. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the conversation. Coffee Chat of Horrors is a live discussion on horror, not just listening to me ramble on about horror for about an hour and a half, but for you guys to also be a part of the discussion. That's what's so great about being a live stream. I could easily turn this into a VOD and turn it into a 10-20 minute VOD, but why would I want to do that when the chatting and discussion open up so many different so many different viewpoints and conversations that I would not want to do this recorded. And thank you guys so much for being and taking a part of this on both YouTube, on TikTok, and on Twitch. We do have an ad break over on Twitch before I get into my credits and my thank yous. But I have a lot of great conversations with you guys. I really do. I enjoy Sundays, Sunday mornings. I always look forward to, because it's such a good time to sit and chat, discuss horror movies, concepts, viewpoints, and everything. I appreciate that. But yes, we do a lot of horror related stuff. We play horror video games on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. So Monday at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time, we do horror games. Anything from like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dead by Daylight, The Mortuary Assistant, etc. I love indie horror titles. And then on Sundays, I do Coffee Chat of Horrors, where we deep dive into and discuss horror. So if you enjoy horror and all things about it, this is the channel. And you can catch us on YouTube and on Twitch. Once this ends in like 28 seconds, we'll head up into our credits, because I have no idea what Twitch looks like in an ad break. So I never know if people can see or not. Oh. There we go. 5 seconds. 5 seconds ascending. I really wish Twitch would allow me to control these effing ads, especially on a Sunday, especially on the Sundays. Speedy, we can see the video of you in the upper right corner over chat. Oh, you can. That's what the ad is. You just can't hear. Oh, okay. So you can't hear. You can just see the video. I never know what it looks like. And when I watch my VODs, it doesn't show me the ad breaks, right? So I have no idea what it looks like and what you guys see or hear. But thank you for letting me know, Speedy. I greatly appreciate that insight and that input. Definitely. And we're going to go to our credit side of things. Our credits are slow as molasses. Rise, my credits, rise from the dead. But thank you guys so very much for coming here and hanging out with me on your Sunday morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so very much for spending your time and energy. Thank you for the great conversations that we had today. We had some really good insight and information this morning about horror, slashers itself, and the beginning of slashers. Retro Pinup CC, thank you so much for the Tiggle Biddies. Thank you guys for all the follows. Touch of Snow, thank you for the raid as well. I greatly appreciate all the love and support. And to my mods, thank you. Thank you very much, Deadwalk, doing double duty on both sides over on YouTube and on Twitch. I greatly appreciate you and your time. Moon, thank you for being here. Blood and Popcorn, Don, Deadwalk, Reaper 1923, Dahi, Speedy, Misha, Gray. Let me just see here. Steve, Sebastian. Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with us. I appreciate your guys' time like no other. Monkey Van Meowerton, thank you guys for hanging out. Lament, how are you, beautiful? Thank you for the stream. You have a great day and you're so very welcome. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. I love Coffee Chat of Horrors and I love discussing horror with you guys. Thank you for being here, James. I will see you guys Monday night. Yeah, Monday night, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. We're going to play Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if you like horror video games, make sure to join me. I will be on my gaming YouTube channel as well. So if you don't know my gaming YouTube channel, it's Scream Queen Games. And that is where I do all of my horror gaming on YouTube. This channel, ReAnimateHer, is strictly for horror movie discussions, reviews. Have an amazing rest of your weekend, guys. Thank you so very much for being here and being a part of this community that we've created online. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Just been enjoying listening. About to go see Labyrinth. Nice. Have a good time, Lament. Thank you so much for popping in. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you Monday night over on Twitch or YouTube for some Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Mwah. I will slash this all later. Bye.